a hungry feeling came o'er me stealing. All the mice were squealing in my prison cell, and the old triangle went jingle jangle all along the banks of the Royal Canal. To begin the morning, the screw was bawling, "Get up, ya bowsy, and clean up your cell." And the old triangle went jingle jangle all along the banks of the Royal Canal. The lags were sleeping, Humpy Gussie was peeping, as I lay there weeping for my gal Sal. And the old triangle went jingle jangle all along the banks of the Royal Canal. Up in the female prison there are 75 women, and among them I wish I did dwell. Then the old triangle could go jingle jangle all along the banks of the Royal Canal. All along the banks of the Royal Canal.
Right.
Hello!
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 Happy St. Patrick's Day!
Happy St. Patrick's Day
That
indeed.
is why we started the show with the old triangle in celebration.
Yeah, it's what a day. Okay, so we're talking about lots of things. Yeah, St. Patrick's Day covered, I think.
We have a special guest with us today.
Hi.
We've got Hannah.
Hannah Mendelsohn.
She has been a guest before, so she knows the ropes. Don't you?
I do.
She's
And we
very
have
familiar with
Sans
the
Adia.
ropes.
No Adia today.
Cool. So there's all kinds of things we can talk about. I quite like this one. The whole thing about...
About Genghis Khan.
We often wonder, don't we, in our
am-
daily lives, where Genghis Khan
We
is
do.
buried.
Well, believe it or not, I actually overheard a conversation at a party of two people discussing Genghis Khan. So it's more relevant than you might think.
I did a history course when I was in France. It was about like the whole world at the time that Genghis Khan was there, but they called him Genghis Khan. And it took me a while to work out what they were talking about. Genghis. Yeah. I don't remember anything really, particularly.
Other than nobody knows where
Nobody
he's
knows where he
buried
is.
because
So what's
everybody
the,
was killed.
What's the latest?
The latest, well, I think the very latest is that some Japanese scientists have found his old palace, like the remains of his old palace. So that has spurred more interest and more kind of searching in that area. So that's like the latest thing, but that's like the first piece of big news for about 1,000 years.
Yeah.
Do you think they'll ever find him?
I reckon they will eventually.
So they've got loads of volunteers. People in Mongolia who have their own computer and internet access are now looking for the burial site through.
Oh.
I can't remember exactly what they're
So
looking at. They're combing through images or something.
yeah, I think that's what they're doing. It's the same way like they take satellite images of the thing and I don't know, they probably use some like infrared or something like that to penetrate the soil and stuff and find out what's underneath. But yeah, so people are looking for it, and I just like the whole thing of how it's even come to be a mystery that we don't know where he is.
But he didn't want people to know, and Genghis Khan was like an amazingly powerful man. He was like the greatest conqueror of the time, right?
Yes.
Yeah.
Put it that way.
Yeah, I think the Mongols
And he
had a
did not
massive-
want to be found.
What's he going to do about it now?
Well, for
Um,
anybody that doesn't know, on the article that we're reading, it said that some 800 soldiers killed the 2,000 people who attended the funeral before being executed themselves.
There
So
you go.
he
Nobody-
destroyed the traces.
Yeah, nobody knew.
Well, it's one of those situations where, like, the soldiers were executed as well, but surely you'll get down to like the last two
no,
guys.
because the people who executed the soldiers weren't present.
Oh yeah, that's true. That could
So
also be a
provided
thing.
that the soldiers hadn't passed on the information further.
Which
Which they
evidently
wouldn't
they
have done
haven't
because
because
they
over
wouldn't-
1,000
yeah.
years later,
Yeah.
we
Yeah.
still don't know.
So a good system. If you want to do something.
Yes. Yeah, killing everyone does work quite well. But yeah, so the place where he looks or where people think he's buried is in the Altai Mountains, if I'm saying that right. I think I've seen it spelt with an I and a Y and all sorts of things. But yeah, it's quite scenic. It's quite nice. And
Yeah, that's why he chose it.
I think he's like born up there, but it's quite cool. Yeah, so 2004 was when the Japanese Mongolian exhibition unearthed the palace, and it's kicking on. But I don't know, it seems like they've got a lot of
A lot of ground to cover.
ground to cover.
And a lot
to
of
find.
ground sort of like deserted. There's just nothing there. Lots of land. Yeah.
Well, if they find 2,800 massacred people
They're on the
somewhere,
right track.
they're on the right track.
Yeah.
Yeah.
But do you reckon that surely they wouldn't have been left with Genghis Khan? Like,
No.
these like mere mortals
But
wouldn't
it
be allowed
might
to be
provide
buried
signs.
to where?
These mere mortals, yeah. Who knows? Maybe one of them wrote a note.
Maybe
Yeah.
Yeah.
look
oh,
under the tree
X
over
amount
there.
of- Yeah, yeah, look under the tree.
So-
maybe he wasn't buried in a grand way after all. Maybe he's
Who knows?
He really would be having the last laugh then.
yeah.
He
could have
probably
been,
has,
could have been eaten by wolves or something on purpose.
Maybe.
No?
I don't know what lives in the forest of Mongolia.
There'll
yeah.
be some wolf thing.
Well, they've narrowed it down to 6,000 square kilometres, so no doubt we'll be finding
Easy
out. We'll be
area.
hearing very
Yeah.
shortly about all the findings. So yeah, I just thought that was quite a cool little mystery that we
it's
still
pretty-
haven't figured
pretty
out.
cool. Pretty cool.
So yeah,
Yeah.
we moved from that to ultra contemporary news, which is Mark Zuckerberg creating a model town. And again, like model towns is a whole Wikipedia session if you want to have it. Like it's
If you want to have it.
It's
you were
great.
saying earlier how you're not doing enough work for you.
But there's like quite a tradition, right, of like rich people being like, oh, I'm going to build houses for people.
Can you name some?
Disney,
Yes.
the Bourneville chocolate
Yes. Yes.
Very good.
Impressive.
These are the two examples that
Can
we have here.
Can you go? There's another one.
guy. No, I don't know the other one.
Magnitogorsk of Borg. It's basically a steel town in Russia.
Interesting. And also,
It's on here
anybody
somewhere.
that's a fan of the film It's a Wonderful Life will know that the guy tries to do it in that as well.
Very good. Love that film.
It's such a good film.
Oh, and apparently Brasilia as well is a model town.
Interesting.
Brasilia.
Yeah, that's the capital of Brazil, isn't it?
Yeah.
Yeah.
Interesting.
So that started out
Well, I
like
feel
as
like
a model
model
town.
town is it started out as because model town you think of like a miniature village
Yeah.
where it has like its own little train track and you go and walk around it. But
Where is this Facebook
But that's a shallow
town
understanding of the concept.
going to be
isn't it?
built?
all right,
Where is this Facebook town going to be built?
Z Town,
The Z Town. Oh, sorry.
I think it's going to be built up in California
Palo
somewhere.
Alto. That's where they're headquartered, right?
Yeah.
Yeah, I don't know.
Which way do you think it
Interesting.
will go? This model town.
What do you mean?
Well, will it rise up and become the capital of the US,
of the
like
US?
Brasilia did for Brazil, or will it go the same
It's-
way as I don't know?
It's unlikely, but who knows? Look at what's happened. 1 in 7 people in the world have a Facebook account. It's quite a lot, isn't it?
Yeah.
That, however, doesn't mean that his town
That
will
doesn't.
be a
I'm
success.
not saying that is a.
No, I know. I'm just like,
You'd have to get a lot of people to come and live with, like.
yeah.
Yeah. I'm sure
It's
Obama would
like
be,
kind
would
of
be
a
willing to
weird
live there.
thing to decide to do. Like, oh, I'm so rich, I'm going to build a town. It's a bit arrogant.
And is this for his
Yeah.
all his employees,
Well, yeah.
or just the ones who are already in the US? 'Cause-
I think probably the US based ones, but I imagine like if you work abroad, like you could probably come over there.
yeah.
But they don't have that many. They have 10,000 employees, which for something that
Yeah.
occupies so much of life nowadays, that's pretty ridiculous. Like if you
Yeah.
wanted any other business to work on that's that scale, like 1 in 7 people, like a
Even
billion,
more people.
yeah, 10,000 people servicing the needs of a billion people.
Yeah.
It's like quite ridiculous. But yeah, so I don't know. I think maybe it is an arrogance thing.
I suppose in a way it's like a nice idea, but I'd have thought that, to be honest, the people working at Facebook probably don't need housing. They're probably on good enough
Yeah.
salaries. Like,
Maybe
Do
it's all
not.
just community spirit. He just wants to bring everyone together. Facebook family.
it reminds
does feel a
me
bit
of like
cultish.
the Firm, the
Cultish.
John Grisham book and film, where like this company just starts taking over his life and like bugging him and like following his wife, and it's really creepy.
I've heard Google is a bit like that, and I know that most big corporations, the first thing they do when you've signed up is they get you on like an away week or 2 weeks, and pump you with just like this corporation's amazing, and
Yeah.
that's what you're there to do, is just to think that it's like a brilliant place. And I've heard from people who've done like internships at Google and stuff, like at Google it's just obscene. They just pamper you and like flood you with like Google branded stuff,
Yeah.
and it's all very much like, yeah, love Google kind of thing. So this seems to me like, yeah, because you're right, they don't need these people who work for Facebook probably have a decent housing situation. And so the idea of just concentrating them all in one place so they never have to leave.
Yeah.
Yeah,
You know,
it's
it's
really
kind
kind
of a
of
bit-
controlling and creepy.
Whereas for example, for Bourneville, for Cadbury, those were like factory workers who were not like
Well housed.
well off and well housed, so they were improving their situation. Whereas, as you say, they still sound a little bit more cultish.
Mm.
Family.
Yeah, exactly. It is all a bit like, oh, why would you go anywhere else? It's all here.
Yeah. Exactly.
But
And also that must make it harder to leave, because if you like wanted to
can't
then
leave.
quit Facebook, your house
Yeah,
is
exactly.
like
Yeah.
with Facebook, everything's with Facebook. How do you get out?
Yeah.
You can't.
You can't get out.
why would you go on holiday? It's like, I just want to go on holiday, Mark. It's like, but everything's here. Like, can I just have my passport? No.
Yeah. So that's probably what it's going to turn into.
Yeah.
Cool.
It rapidly descended from like, maybe it's a good idea to it's a city. It's like an insipid cult.
Is it Z Town, like Z for Zuckerberg?
Yes. Yeah, obviously.
Z.
It's
That's
yeah.
so funny. Yeah. He's going to be like the president of Z Town.
Slowly conquering the world even more than he already has done.
Yep. I think so.
Yeah. So, I reckon
Vicious
we've
guy.
probably covered those. I like this one as well about the Erasmus scheme.
It's a
I
shame
think there's
Abby's
stuff to
not
talk
here. She
about
would
it.
love that.
Yeah, she would do. What else can we talk about? Oh yeah, the King of Spain has basically been busted again with like an illegitimate child. And I like the fact that Putin's just been missing as well.
That's really funny.
But he's been found. You know, he had a public appearance yesterday.
Really?
Yeah. So the Putin mystery, although nobody knows why he was away for 10 days, is over.
That's been solved.
There has been no coup.
Well, apparently he was
He is
having,
alive.
apparently he was in Switzerland or something because his 31-year-old girlfriend has just had a baby.
Well, yeah, but these are all like rumours that are very unfounded.
Yeah.
It was also that he was very ill. He could have just not wanted to make any public appearances for a few days.
That's true. Yeah, there's all sorts of reasons. But
Although
just
I do like the idea there had been a coup.
I just like the idea. The thing is, people were popping up on the internet with parodies and stuff, being like, thousands of Putins have been seen. It's like Putin sightings have increased. Yeah, and the Erasmus thing that Adia will like is, basically they've estimated that since I think 87, when the Erasmus scheme started, which is an exchange between like different European countries for like a few months or a year, they estimate that this scheme has produced 1 million babies.
Yeah.
So
Yeah, I saw that like a quarter of people meet their long-term partner on Erasmus, which I do not know to be true. I can't think of it. I don't know anybody, but it's quite they're nice statistics.
Yeah.
A third of ex-Erasmus students had a partner of a different nationality. Yeah, well, it is a good thing to go to another country, I feel. And that's what some people have said, that it shouldn't just be students that go, or that everyone should go and experience a different culture.
I feel like it would
become
be
European.
Yeah, I feel like it'd be beneficial to everyone, but the chances of everyone doing it is very remote.
It'd be very logistically difficult.
Yeah. Just have everyone moving around. No, it's not going to happen, but it's a nice idea. If you could do it, then.
I think it sort of also. I think it tells you a lot about what the motives of the EU are, because they were saying that at the end of this article there's some guy from the EU being like, this is really good because it means we now have a generation of people who consider themselves European and not from like one nation or whatever, which is like strange, because is it the emergence of like an extra identity, or is it a case of an extra, like this new identity of European superseding the identity of like a national identity?
Well, I definitely think that's kind of the way that the EU wants to go with like more and more regulation. But I think it's potentially not the way that a lot of the individual countries are going, with like extremist parties that are kind of going against that. So definitely kind of a conflict between the two.
Well, what do you think? What's your dominant identity feeling?
Probably British.
Probably British.
Yeah.
But if there were a referendum on EU membership, I would vote to stay in.
Yeah. I think it's difficult because European, like there are so many different countries in Europe and cultures.
Yeah.
Everything, you can't belong to everything. So there would be European wouldn't mean that you belong to all countries, or that you could fit in everywhere. It would be like a new identity.
I don't know about you, but I felt most British when I was like abroad. When I was in other places, because all of a sudden it became the thing that you were identifiable as.
Yeah.
Because you're just saying to everyone.
Yeah. Whereas when I'm knocking around here, I don't feel any urge to start waving a flag or like.
No.
I don't feel particularly patriotic. If Britain did something stupid, I'd be like, well, that's stupid.
Yeah.
I wouldn't senselessly like just toe the line of whatever the country's doing. But yeah, like when I'm abroad, I feel a bit more inclined to be like, oh, Britain's great.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Like, oh, you should all come to London. London's amazing.
Yeah.
There aren't enough tourists.
Yeah.
Yeah, but I wonder, like, because I was thinking, it made me think about George Orwell, and you know how in 1984 there are 3 big blocks. I think there's 3. There's like Eurasia, something else, and an American one. Do you reckon that's the way things are going? Because you've got the like, I think it's called like the Andean Pact or whatever. They're trying to make South America like kind of a union in the same way that the European Union's one. There's like North America's kind of a block as well.
It wouldn't surprise me if they wanted to move towards a Europe that's like more like the US, where there's kind of like a federal power and then like individual state power. Because with like a central bank and stuff, it's kind of moving in that sort of direction.
Well, given what George Orwell's predicted in that scenario, are you skeptical of that, or do you welcome it? Do you think it's a good thing? What's your take?
I think I would be skeptical of that, given that we have seen how their monetary policy isn't brilliant for every single country. Like, so I don't think that more integration on like such a level would necessarily be helpful. But I don't know.
It's weird. I find this like a really weird debate because I don't even know which side of it I'm on.
Yeah, sometimes I'm like, oh, it's a really good idea, and then other times I'm like, oh no.
Yeah. And like it because there's because Noam Chomsky, who I quite like, I don't know, because he's like everything should be devolved to local level. There should be no central power whatsoever. So he's like, Scotland should be independent, Catalonia should be independent, just like anyone who wants to like govern themselves like should just be allowed to do it. But then I don't know, where does that argument end? Like, if the people of London were like, how about we just go independent?
There are a lot of
What would
studies
happen?
that suggest that if London were independent, it would be better for the rest of the UK.
Really?
Because
Yeah, I can see that.
everything for the UK is in London. But if
Yeah.
London was separate, then the UK would have to set up other places that had the different companies, the government, whatever. And it would like bring a lot of money into different areas.
Yeah, it would probably, yeah. Well, regional areas would improve because they'd probably have to. But then you look at the concentration of wealth in London, and then you also see what London puts out to like the rest of the country in taxes. It's unbelievable. Like this, I don't know. It's not like I can just make an accurate prediction, but
What?
but I do think that it could. I don't know which way it would actually go in the end. Because like, yeah, sure, like regional places would improve because they just have to be.
Yeah.
But then they'd also be missing out on tons of like tax money and stuff. There's like, I think Northern Ireland relies so much on taxed, subsidies basically.
I don't know. I think you can't predict these things. In a way, I think I'm really glad that Scotland stayed in the UK, but I think it's kind of a shame for them that it was so close and they didn't, because they would have had like the ability to start over all over again.
Yeah, I do exactly the same.
Yeah.
And whilst for selfish reasons, I'm really glad that it didn't happen.
Yeah.
Actually, I think it could have been a really good opportunity.
Yeah, I think it would have been. I reckon that if they'd have gone independent, I think the first 10, 20 years would have been shit. I think they would have been awful. And then I think it would actually get quite a bit better. And they'd probably, in like the longer term of like several generations on, I think they'd all be glad that they chose to do it. Because like the short-term problems are horrendous. Like trying to change currency, sort out all the treaties, have nothing really to export apart from oil, which no one wants to be a part of anymore, and scotch and shortbread, that all that classic traditional stereotypical stuff.
Bagpipes.
Bagpipes.
Big export market there.
Huge export. But I think they would eventually get it together.
Yeah. And the other thing is, it depends whether or not you want to be a big player on an international stage, or whether or not you actually just want a good life for your citizens.
Yeah.
Whether you want the economy to be like kind of ticking over, doing nicely, but not like throwing your weight around, or
It's it's kind of the Scandinavian model of things.
They have great standards of living.
Yes, they do. I like the way Norway has a trust fund for itself. They've got which they get from their nationalised oil industry. They set up a trust fund and it's worth like so much money now. It's worth like hundreds of millions.
Also, it's good because you know that if Norway were to stop exporting oil, they'd be fine.
Yeah, they'd be alright.
So it's like a really good way of doing it.
And the other thing is they use all the oil money to subsidise like green cars and green energy and green technology and stuff. So they kind of like, I was listening to a podcast on it, and there was some Norwegian minister or whatever, and he was like, yeah, we've got a bit of a guilt complex about the fact that we produce all this oil, so we try and offset it by subsidizing, you know, things like Tesla cars and things like that. It's like Tesla, I think Norway is the biggest buyer outside of the US for Tesla cars.
Oh. Elon Musk.
Yes, Elon Musk again. We can't go a show without mentioning Elon Musk. Yeah. Cool.
Oh, we moved away from finding love on Erasmus there, didn't we?
Yeah, well, that was kind of the point. It was because I think there's
Europe.
there's more to be discussed
Yeah.
than the thing. Oh yeah, this is just quite a nice little insolite. You can watch TED conferences for free online, but to actually be there in person, it costs £8,500 or $8,500. Sorry.
It's like ridiculous membership cost.
It's loud.
Yeah.
I suppose they have to
Closing
fund it
that shop.
somehow.
Yeah, they do, but
Yeah.
it's still like $8.5 grand. And I was listening to a podcast where someone was talking about their experience on it, and they had been asked to give a talk, and it is a bit, you know how we've been talking about cults, it is apparently a bit cultish. Like, they tell you when a speaker deserves a standing ovation, so they like apparently prompt you into doing that. You have to go, if you're a member and you attend a conference, you have to go to all the little things that they ask you to do, and they get really like narky when you don't. So like they said to him, we need you to attend this like breakfast or whatever, this brunch, and then there's going to be like a small like presentation or something like that. He was like, you know what, I'd rather just like walk around the city and like do my own thing. And they were like, no, you can't do that, you have to be there. So apparently it is a bit, that's one accusation I've heard about it. So yeah.
Well,
goes to
I
show.
don't really know anything
About TED.
about TED. So
Is there,
I have watched some of the conferences though.
what's the best one you've seen?
Oh, I know, I can't remember.
Think
I
of
don't know
a
what
one that
TED
you've seen. Is there something that has ever stood out?
It's been a long time since I've watched a
Yeah.
TED talk. I can't remember what.
I swear, like the good, as with anything, you sort of run out of stuff, don't you? After a while. Unless, apart from this show where current affairs just
We
keep.
never run out of it. Current
keep
events keep
happening.
happening. I think we should talk about the newspaper article or snippet from
Which one?
1886.
Oh yeah, that's a great one. Yeah.
What is it?
Oh, it's good.
It's great. So we've got a copy of this of a US newspaper from September 1883. There's just a little paragraph. Do you want to just read the paragraph?
So I just read the
Yeah.
paragraph. Okay, so the body of Frank Devereaux was recently found in the woods 8 miles from Cheboygan, Michigan. The surroundings showed that he was killed in a bear fight, which resulted fatally for both, as the animal's body was found near that of the dead man. The body was terribly cut up in the contest, and the ground torn for a space of 20 feet, showing that the struggle had been a fearful one.
And that is it.
That's
there is
it.
no more elaboration.
That's quite a good obituary though, because like that guy kind of comes off as crazy, but also providing entertainment for like years
He literally
later.
defeated a bear with his bare hands. It's pretty cool.
Well, I don't know if he defeated it.
Well,
They both died.
they're both dead now.
He did
so-
defeat it, but he was also defeated. Yeah, it was a fearful struggle. I like that. So, yeah.
That's just cool. That's just like the most. If I had to choose a way to go down,
Really?
If
It'd
I
probably
got
be
to-
so painful.
it would be. But then, like, it's
Do you want
also
that
the
as your
most
obituary?
badass thing. Can you imagine that on your tombstone? Just like a picture of you
Fighting a bear.
killing a
How
bear.
Now, Putin wrestles bears on a regular basis.
Does he?
doesn't
But we
Yeah.
all know Putin is
He
superhuman.
is superhuman. Yeah, he can do anything.
Well, if he's superhuman, then what does that make Kim Jong Un? Because he's amazing.
Yeah, he is
Supernatural.
That's true, yeah. But because there was a video of remember I was mentioning the other day that some people have suggested that Putin has autism or like Asperger's.
Yeah.
And that every time someone would talk about it, they would show a video of him. I think he was doing judo, having a judo match with someone.
Oh yeah,
and
yeah.
Like, but look at the right side of his body and how it's slow to react. He's definitely got autism.
Oh, that's an autistic guy right there.
Yeah, but he can't. He would. That can't be true if he does wrestle bears. He's probably fine.
Yeah. Well, are you saying that an autistic person couldn't wrestle a bear?
No, I'm sure.
I think that it's very hard
he's
to
at like the peak of his physical strength.
provide-
Suggesting that
Is
he
he?
wasn't doing right. No, that's what he claims. He has, like,
According
paintings
to the
of himself,
Kremlin.
like- yeah. He has like paintings of himself, with no shirt on, like over triumphant over this animal he's killed or something. Yeah.
But I mean, I think that the whole diagnosing him with Asperger's is really difficult to do from afar. It's very easy to be like, oh, look at that bit in an interview, but it's very inaccurate.
The best evidence is that he just sort of like ruthlessly kills people and has no reaction to it. Just goes, meh.
Yeah, but he could be like a psychopath, you know.
Yeah, he probably is. But he doesn't seem to understand the implications of like killing another person.
He's definitely super intelligent, like, although it doesn't necessarily manifest itself in the best ways.
Yeah.
I was watching what's John Oliver's show called? Last week tonight. That's the one. Yeah, and he did a really good bit about Putin and Nemetsov and whatever, and how he's like, Putin basically said about after the murder, I will personally oversee the investigation and make sure that the culprit is found. And it's just like, great. Putin's personally supervising the investigation. I wonder what the outcome will be. I wonder if he'll find himself guilty. Yeah, I thought that was quite a good bit of commentary. But yeah, and another thing we noticed about this newspaper from 1883 is, so they have that very small paragraph about a man who fought a bear to the death, and then they just go on to like, a steamer from Hull to Boston ran into a steam collier and Professor Morse from New York. It's just like, it goes from just the most extraordinary thing to like the most mundane thing, and there's basically no break between them.
No. The whole of this page of the newspaper is just little paragraphs.
Yeah.
One paragraph per story.
Miscellaneous stories.
Exactly. But, yeah.
And then, what are these? Ads, I guess.
Some ads,
Yeah. So I just came across that when I was reading old newspapers from 1883.
Yeah. That's what you like to do.
Standard.
This is quite cool.
Yeah.
This is about...
But I just like, okay, so this is on Upworthy, and it's about drones preventing poaching by following herds of animals around. But there's just a sentence that says, every hour another elephant or rhino family is broken forever. And it's not funny. But I just thought that sentence was funny.
It's not funny, laughed Chloe.
I really like this story.
Then they got pictures of the baby elephants, and you're like, oh no, actually it's really sad.
Because I thought it's a really nice use of drones, given that they're so negative. But then I read that the UK is the biggest importer of drones in the world. Like, what are the UK doing with all these drones?
Oh dear.
Is it? Do you know if they're going into private hands, or is it like military? Is it public?
I don't know. I can't remember. It's on The Guardian, and it had loads of different tables and stuff for the usage and the importing. And Israel is one of the biggest exporters of drones in the world. So I thought that was quite surprising.
That's a good factlet.
Thanks.
Factoid.
Factoid, yes.
Yeah, but so these drones are, they've done 600 tests and no poaching has occurred during the tests. So yeah, there is as you say, there is a good use for drones.
I really want a drone now.
What for?
I just think it'd be cool. I don't really have like a
It was
reason.
like when we were watching Citizen 4, and Edward Snowden was saying that in the offices they could just tap into, they could just watch drone, like from the drone's point of view.
Really?
Drones would just be surveilling various people in different places, and they could just go
Really?
watch whatever stream they wanted. Yeah. Yeah.
I think it is only a matter of time until we have access to drones. Because they're going to
So we can
be...
go spy on them.
Yeah, well, On
who are spying on
Modern
us.
Family last week, there was a drone that kept spying on some of the characters, and they were trying to defeat it. So, you know,
Interesting.
But they're surely like limited though. They can't get into your house, or
No.
they can sort of see you in a public place. But then,
yeah,
I mean, in some ways, like you can still
it's
even
still
now
enough
you
to
can
follow what you're doing.
Yeah, but I mean, I don't know. It just seems like a difference in technology, because if you really want, you can still go and like film someone on the street. And I think it's probably less obvious if a person is doing it than if you've got like a
drone
thing like hovering
following.
behind you. Like, can you imagine like a drone in a trench coat and like a fedora hat, sunglasses, hovering behind you?
But I mean, if Amazon started using drones to like deliver packages and stuff, then they would be able to get like snapshots inside your house if you had to open the door or whatever.
What
Like,
would they use that information
I don't
for?
know, but you know what? Like, it's just like the fact that they're kind of getting more and more access to private
Most of the
domain.
information that is mined, data mining, is that what they call it? Yeah, isn't really used for anything. It's just stored, isn't it?
Yeah, this is the thing like that I don't really get about the controversy, because like in general, people having like loads of like I don't know, but what is it called, megadata on whole populations? I don't know if that's necessarily a bad thing. I think it's kind of like what you do with it. I'm more worried in the hands of, when it gets in the hands of like really properly bad governments, and the US is a bit of a bad government, and it's definitely used it's definitely used the NSA to clamp down on journalists and stuff, and it shouldn't do that.
Someone
but,
was
like,
telling me the other day actually that the UK spies on its citizens more than the US.
Edward
Really?
Snowden told us
Um,
that. Yeah.
this
Not
guy,
personally.
yeah.
a treasure
Um,
trove of information on
yeah.
this subject.
Yeah.
But
yeah. Yeah, the UK is the worst.
Yeah, but I mean, how concerned are you really?
what concerns me is not that they have the information, but it's that like it's so easy to hack. I mean, obviously it'd be nicer if they didn't have the information, but it's so easy to hack into things these days. Like, who could end up with this
The
information?
isn't safe necessarily.
Yeah.
Okay, so worst case scenario, someone has hacked in and got loads of personal information. What's
Well, I don't, because the thing
the
is, it's
bad
not really
thing?
like a personal worry. I don't think that the vast majority of individuals, it is not really like concerning that because we're not doing anything wrong. Well, I don't know about you guys.
yeah?
We're
Speaking
not
of
doing-
None of us are doing anything wrong. But it's just, it's not really about that. It's not about that we could potentially be.
It's a matter of
arrested
principle.
for something. It's exactly.
And it especially when like the governments talk about how important free speech is to the
Yeah.
country, but actually our speech isn't that free because they're
Yeah.
collecting it, and if they wanted to know what we're saying and do
Yeah.
something about it, they could.
Yeah, that's the worry, isn't it? Is that but that scenario is a problem if we don't trust the government, and if the government is like a bad one, and just by voting we can stop that. I don't know. I feel like in general people have already made the decision that they don't care about this.
I think it's a byproduct of having all this information at our fingertips that we just have to accept, sadly.
Because if you want to have a Facebook account,
Yeah.
you can't. There's nothing as private on. If you want to be online at all,
Well, that's the
then you can't help it.
That's the old saying, isn't it? That if a company is giving away its product for free, then you are the product. That's the thing. Is by signing up for something for free, then like all the details you give them and all the usage data, that just becomes what they sell on to like an advertiser or whatever.
Yeah.
But yeah, I don't know. I just sometimes think like, because there is all this stuff about privacy, but I really struggle to be like, oh no, you've read my emails, or you know, like I struggle to get really worked up and worried about it. And especially if you think that like they can stop to an extent, they can stop like terrorists and stuff. Like if they'd done a proper sweep of that guy's Facebook, the guy who killed the soldier. If they'd have swept his Facebook chat, they would have seen he was saying, "Oh, I'm going to kill that guy. I'm going to kill someone tomorrow," or whatever. Like he literally said it in a Facebook chat.
But then you can't. you can't look at everyone's conversations
No.
in that, like, yeah, it's stored, but you can't. And if you already know about someone, then obviously, okay. I don't feel like just having this.
You could look up keywords and stuff.
Yeah.
If people keep using keywords like
It's It's
kill.
really difficult. It doesn't. You can't win either way. Because
yeah,
in the government in some form does have to watch
yeah,
certain things or certain people, but we don't want them to watch us. But then we want them to be able to deal with people who are dangerous. And it's just,
I know.
It just
I don't think you can really win.
no exactly.
Well,
You can't have it both ways.
No.
because I've got friends who moderate for a dating website, and the stuff that they see on a daily basis is just like people's most intimate
Oh.
photos.
Oh.
Like some serious, like, unbelievable stuff, and they hear some horrendous stories, and there's basically anything and everything goes on these dating websites, but they have to moderate it, and they just see it, fix whatever the problem is, and then it's gone. They go through like hundreds of them a week, so I do kind of feel like that, like, if people have got my data, the people who are looking at it, even if they saw like a photo, like a ridiculous photo of me or whatever the most embarrassing thing is, like, they're just gonna forget about it in like a split second. It doesn't really bother me that anyone would read or see what I do,
Yeah, I think most people don't care. The vast majority of people, or just don't really get it anyway. But
Yeah, I think there's not much. I think people are very like low information on
Yeah.
this
I think so.
on this issue. But yeah, so drones. That was drones.
That was drones. Yeah.
Have you seen? Oh,
Saving
they're so
the,
cool, drones. I can talk about them a bit more if you want. Like, I like the way. Have you seen the
Please,
one?
no.
Have you seen there's someone who's flown it into the biggest cave in the world? A drone into the
No.
biggest cave in the world. Oh, that's really cool. That's
That
really
is so
cool. What else is there? We could talk about the boy who made windmills for his tribe in Malawi.
Oh yeah, that was nice.
That was quite cool. And he did it all by just looking at old books and stuff in the library. The one I really want to talk about is, I'm not sure, it must be up here somewhere. There we go. We didn't talk about this last time.
You were talking about this yesterday.
Yeah. So basically, this is now slightly old. It's like a couple of weeks old probably. But so basically the people who made the Unreal Engine, which is a game engine, and I think it does other things as well, but it's like a computer graphics engine. They've made it completely free to use, so you can just download it now and make whatever you want. And their scheme is that only when you start making money, you give 5% of that back to the developers.
That's cool.
So yeah, I think it's really, really cool, because that'll like empower independent people to make their own things.
I think it's a really good idea. Most people probably aren't going to be making any money from it, but
No, that's right. But then
that just
It does
shows
make
that they're not
it-
doing it for the money.
Yeah, and it opens it up to a wider group of
Yeah.
people that otherwise wouldn't have been able to have access to this sort
Yeah.
of thing. So
yeah, it's really cool. Like a complete suite of game development tools. So you can make 2D mobile games, console blockbusters, virtual reality. It's pretty cool. Like there's a lot of range for it.
Do you think you have to have some base knowledge before
Yeah.
setting off? I really doubt that I would be able to.
yeah, I don't think I would either.
Yeah, you definitely will need a little bit
Yeah, just a
of
bit. Probably.
some technique, I think, to make the most of it. But it's pretty cool. Like it. And I don't know. I'm more interested in this in terms of like, is this a model for other things, for other tools and things?
I think it's quite a nice model. I think it's a good idea. Whether or not other people will do that or not is a different question, because obviously it runs the risk of not making any money from it.
Yeah, but I think with these guys, because I don't know, I think they're doing it because it's now not obsolete, but games are moving in a different direction. I think they've probably made most of their money out of this already.
Yeah.
But as a sort of like afterlife for a tool or a product, do you think this is a good idea? Can you think of another thing that this would be?
Well,
Another product that could use
If
this?
they're not going to really be using this anymore, then it would just be no one would be using it. So it's maybe I should just put it out there. I don't know. Because I don't know how some people would be able to make really good commercially viable games, but the vast majority of people would probably just mess around on it a bit and you know.
But yeah, that's quite good. I think that even encouraging it on that level is good. I think it's good to
It's just, it also it's good for more people to like understand how these things work, because I don't understand it at all. Yeah. Will you be giving it a go?
I won't be giving it a go, no, but I like the idea of it.
Yeah, it's cool. Is that how you're going to be spending your summer?
I'm going to spend my summer. I know. I'm going to spend my summer being a tour guide.
Oh yes.
That's what I'm going to do.
We can announce that at another time.
Yeah. When I
more
actually have
concrete
made
plans.
any progress towards that whatsoever.
Should we talk about Juan Carlos?
Yes. There's a little video that comes with this, but it's in Spanish actually, so it's kind of pointless.
What has Juan Carlos done this time?
Basically, there's a French woman who says that he's her dad.
Fair enough.
And I don't know. Because, like, what do you do when something like this pops up? Because he's
What,
obviously
as
not
the
gonna,
king of Spain?
Or just in general. Yeah, from his point of view. Because now so many people are claiming it. He seems to have lived quite a wild life.
Yeah. What, did you say so many people are claiming it?
Well, yeah, there's like...
Lots of claims.
in this, yeah, there's been quite a few claims.
Are they having like DNA tests or?
Oh, no.
Well then,
No way.
none of these like claims have like a foundation to go off from any legal perspective for anyone really.
Yeah, from a legal perspective, I guess not. There's
From a PR perspective, it's awful.
yeah. There's a statement, I think. Yeah. So they met in 1965, and there's like, oh yeah.
Well, I mean, so he's not the king anymore. He was a bit of, I was going to say it was a bit of a joke, but he wasn't. I didn't mean that. But he had.
No offense.
That's not really what I meant. I meant that he'd made some mistakes.
He had quite a controversial
Yes.
reign.
So yeah, this isn't exactly a surprise.
He's like properly of the old school monarchic corruption, the likes of which we're not really used to because we didn't live in the 1600s.
Well, he was the king chosen by Franco, so he was like the product of a
he was
dictatorship.
like descendants from the previous.
Could it have
Yeah.
been anyone else? Do you
Yeah,
know
he
if it
was
could have been
chosen.
someone else who was the king instead
I
of
don't
him?
know.
But I mean, he also did quite a lot of positive things during the transition, so
Yeah.
Oh yeah, there's
Not
you
to
He was
can't.
detract
very
from-
important in making transition
successful.
but at the same time he did.
Is he the one? Is he implicated in stealing loads of money as well, or is that
I
the
think so.
daughter or the
His
wife
daughter-in-law
of
or
his son?
something.
Yeah.
No, I think he was as well. Or,
Jesus.
I can't remember exactly.
Embezzling
But-
funds.
Well, yeah, we are nearly done for the week. So, we can quickly talk about the owl thing because we haven't done much owl news.
No, we haven't.
But we can talk about how there's a shop opening
yeah.
up.
So you've heard about the cat cafe. Have you heard about the owl cafe or the owl bar?
The owl bar. Yeah.
Well, yeah. So you can go have a drink and pet some owls.
Yeah.
Who look very sweet, but we were slightly concerned about how happy they are being tethered indoors and stroked by lots of people. But they're taking one for the team. because this is in aid of owl conservation,
Yes.
and that's what we advocate here.
Yes, we're all for conservation.
We're just for owls.
Yeah, and it's only open for a week, and it's so popular that it's being done on ballot. You apply for
Really?
tickets,
Really?
20 quid for a ticket, and then...
And I suppose if it's only a week, they're not going to suffer too much
Yeah,
because
that's
it's not
okay.
like they're being kept indoors
They
forever.
probably will have a bit of a rotation.
I did also point out this morning the how weird it would be if like an association dedicated to the conservation and well-being of owls had like a few owls in its shop that were just horribly abused.
Yeah.
It doesn't strike me as something that
was
they
just
would
me.
really...
Yeah, so that is a little bit of
They've-
owl news.
They've got a trained falconer on stand, like in the shop the whole time it's open.
That's good.
So that's, again, to make sure that they're doing well.
Yeah. Well, good luck, owls.
Good
You
luck.
can do it.
I'm just imagining the falconer be like, whoa, these are owls. They're totally different from falcons. I don't know what I'm supposed to do in this scenario.
Presumably, it will be a falconer that is trained for all.
Let's hope so.
Yeah, let's hope so. Right, so that's brought us to the end. Shall we finish with a song?
Yes.
Do we need another Irish
We, of course we do.
song? Yeah. Westlife, The Cause.
Oh,
Westlife.
just putting it out there.
I could do that. I like... Have you heard The Parting Glass? I like
No.
that. That's a good one.
Not Ed Sheeran, though.
You don't want the Ed Sheeran
Well,
version?
I don't know.
No.
Ed
Not the
Sheeran's
Ed
not
Sheeran
Irish.
version.
We want someone Irish.
He's kind of Irish in the sense that he's ginger.
Not that you're making any generalisations.
Well, actually, Celts, or ethnic Celtic people, have the highest incidence of gingerness
Yeah, it's
in the
true.
world. 43%.
43%, that's high.
So,
It
yeah.
is true. I was expecting not to hear Ed Sheeran.
Yeah, I'd rather not hear Ed Sheeran.
Okay, well, do you have is there an advance on this song? A more
No.
Irish song.
Well, I'm going to say Westlife.
Westlife.
Boyzone, anything. I think we should go for some.
Or
Westlife.
Riverdance.
Oh my gosh, yes.
Riverdance.
Yes. We can recreate the
I hope that
dancing
anybody
school we were
listening
at.
will be dancing along.
Yeah.
Which one?
I don't know.
Any?
Anything. Just go for the top one. Right, so
20 million views this has.
Riverdance is a
incredible.
classic.
Okay, right.
Bye.
So, yeah.
Yeah, we'll
Until
leave you.
next time.
Bye.
Keep owling.